Harassment methods. Overview of harassment methods used by FBI's COINTELPRO Operation Gladio. Covert community recruits and stay-behind armies, or instruction manual for community gang stalkers. From Chapter 18, Instruction Manual with Harassment Methods for Community Gang Stalkers, Undercover Community-Based Agents. Gang stalking is a covert counterintelligence operation to deprive and isolate the victim for climate control, to stage a synthetic psychological collapse for trafficking or exploitation, to stage a synthetic suicide programming for eugenics, to deprive the victim of any peace and justice for social injustice, forced oppression, also known as slavery. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Welcome back to another show. Welcome back to another episode. Good morning or good afternoon to all of my viewers, listeners, and Soul Tribe family. The name of this program is called It's a Conspiracy, But It Ain't No Theory. It's a Conspiracy, But It Ain't No Theory is a nonprofit social service agency suicide prevention campaign servicing the needs of families and foster children at risk. Lending my voice to help raise awareness by soft publishing a book trilogy called Lucy's Lair. Lucy's Lair is a graphic novel based on true events following my life as a freelance artist. This program is intended to help encourage, heal, and empower survivors of cancel culture and rape culture, providing free information and evidence regarding child abuse, sexual assault, domestic violence, electronic harassment, gang stalking, conspiracy, and true organized hate crimes against humanity, collective and covert. Your company can help by providing funds in a grant or by donating goods and services as I continue delivering this information and evidence to the general public and advocating for foster children in need. Thank you in advance for all of your support. On today's episode, I am going to be discussing gang stalking, occult ritual stalking, community harassment with malicious intent, hypersimulation theory, covert psychological operations, plus surviving the New World Order, surviving the New World Disorder per usual, surviving manufactured chaos, surviving manufactured karma, and surviving the electronic targeting Holocaust. My name is Adrienne Alese. I am the author and creator of a book trilogy called Lucy's Lair. Lucy's Lair is a book trilogy reflecting my life as a survivor of rape culture, child sex trafficking, and psychological gas chambers. On this program, I advocate for women's rights, basic human rights, and the rights of those disabled. I also advocate on behalf of the foster children in the CPS system, orphans, single mothers, foster mothers, and those less fortunate. Targeted individual or trafficked victims are predominantly women. 65 to 70% of targeted individuals are white American women or those who identify as such. This makes gang stalking an illegal operation or a hate crime that is sexually and politically motivated towards American women and their children. This program is a dedication to the targeted individual community. The objective of the opposition or the counterintelligence program, COINTELPRO 2.0, is to subvert all of the target's potential, to terminate and to punish all supporters and sympathizers, to round down the target's output and audience, to marginalize the target, to eliminate connections and networking ability. Project Monarch programming refers to a conspiracy theory claiming that the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, developed a covert trauma-based mind control program. The conspiracy alleges that this program was an offshoot of the real and now widely known CIA project called MKUltra, which sought to develop techniques for interrogation and mind control. Allegations of Monarch programming. Advocates of the Monarch conspiracy theory claim that it used systemic torture and abuse to intentionally cause extreme trauma to subjects, forcing their minds to disassociate and create alter egos or manipulate multiple personalities. These personas could then be, quote, programmed. According to the theory, these alters could then be, quote, programmed using symbols and specific triggers, also known as anchors, to carry out a range of clandestine operations such as assassination, sex slavery, and intelligence gathering. Appendix 1. Keywords and phrases taken directly from this manual. Appendix 2. Key terms from Rich's, quote, New World War, revolutionary methods for political control. Electronic targeted killing, ETK comment. Note that the terms, definitions, military documents, laws, and patents provided by Rich prove the existence of this operation, described in Kilde's, quote, manual. Appendix 3, European Parliament Resolution on Operation Gladio. Appendix 4, From Total Individual Control, Technology by Omniscience. Appendix 2, Key Terms from Rich, 2011, and equivalencies with terms presented in Kilde's, quote, Manual for Gang-Stalkers, Terrorism. The U.S. and its allies will terrorize the civilian population to achieve political objectives. The DoD stated, quote, some information warfare activities such as terrorism and transnational crime violate international law. U.S. law and national policy prohibit U.S. military forces or other government agencies, OGAs, from engaging in or supporting such activities. However, since our adversaries employ terrorism and transnational criminal activities against the interest of the United States and its partners, these activities are included as examples of the range of operations and activities that can be conducted as part of information warfare. Fourth-generation warfare is a form of political information warfare waged against civilians by a state or other entity. It utilizes civilians and the military, indeed all of society, to target civilian adversaries, aka, quote, domestic state enemies, quote, insurgents, extremists, non-state actors, quote, cells of fanatics, citizen, quote, terrorists who value national sovereignty and or pose some perceived threat to the state's interest. Anyone disseminating information contrary to the state's, quote, national security interests may become an enemy. The goal of the new war is the psychological collapse of the new enemies using a combination of overlapping tactics. Defeating the new enemy involves the synchronized use of non-lethal directed energy weapons, isolation, deprivation, and psyops against individuals and groups, also known as targeted audience and targeted individuals. Fourth-generation warfare is more or less synonymous with unconventional warfare, irregular warfare, asymmetric warfare, low-intensity conflict, This is why you have people like Cardi B sticking their tongue out. Nasty. Military operations other than war, and network-centric warfare. This new war involves international interagency cooperation between the military, federal, and local law enforcement, non-governmental organizations, intergovernmental organizations, the civilian population, private voluntary organizations, and private governmental contractors. This multinational force involving NATO and the UN is termed civilian military operations. Targeted individuals, insurgents, non-state actors, dissidents, terrorists, asymmetrical threats, irregular threats, potential enemies, etc. Insurgents, those who try to persuade the populace to accept political change. LOL. The enemy does not necessarily use violence to promote social change. Their methods may be nonviolent. These are groups of individuals not under government control against the established leadership who will be targeted because of an action they might take in the future. These may include nonviolent protesters who are labeled as terrorists. They may, quote, wrap themselves in nationalism. Civilian military operation combines military federal agencies, NGOs, civilian organizations and authorities, and the civilian population. Civilian military operations is used in friendly, neutral, or hostile operational areas, including populated civilian areas in which no other military activity is conducted. It is used to deal with domestic threats in the new war. The controlling faction of these PSYOP CMO activities includes the military federal agencies, non-governmental organizations, regional organizations, and international organizations that work with civilian authorities. In the U.S., this means the controlling faction is FEMA, the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, the CIA, and other federal agencies, FBI, DHS, etc. Civilians are used as irregular forces. Civilian military operations are interagency and global in nature. In the U.S., they are used as part of Homeland Security. Civilian Military Operations Centers is established in the civilian sector for exchanging ideas. It may be a physical meeting place or a virtual one through online networks. Daily meetings are attended by representatives of the military, non-governmental organizations, the private sector, and local officials. Discussions at these meetings may include any ongoing campaigns against domestic threats in the area of operation. Command, control, communications, computer center that utilizes intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. Multiple interacting components of C4ISRs include battle space monitoring, awareness, understanding, sense-making, command, intent, battle space management, synchronization, and information systems. C4ISR centers can be mobile or stationary or virtual or strictly computer-based. Each military service has its own tactical mobile C4ISR system. The Navy and Marine use ForceNet. The Air Force uses Command Control Constellation. The Army uses Land War Net and WIN-T. Each type of C4ISR system is connected to Global Grid Information, GIG. CR, cognitive radio, a kind of joint tactical radio system that consists of a computer which has artificial intelligence. This is Hollywood. Ever since Sam Cooke, ever since Elvis, this is what it is. It's a cognitive radio which has artificial intelligence. That's the only reason why it's able to sing so well and is actually on the radio. CR is an intelligent device that is aware of itself, the needs of its user, and the environment. It can understand and learn. DARPA helped create CRs through programs like the Adaptive Cognition Enhanced Radio Teams, ACERT, and Situation-Aware Protocols in Edge Network Technologies, Sapient. GIG, Global Information Grid, developed partially by the MITRE Corporation, has been called DoD's Global C4ISR Unit for Net War. It can quickly track down an adversary target anywhere on Earth and track and attack them via directed energy weapons and other forms of electronic warfare. EW. GIG, Global Information Grid, uses existing commercial satellite and ground-based systems as well as GIG nodes such as aircraft, vehicles, and ships equipped with JTRS. GIG is connected to all communication systems used by coalition and allied forces. GWOT, Global War on Terror, use of second, third, fourth, fifth, and now sixth generation warfare to achieve political and military objectives of the American Empire and the New World Order. Information operations, aka cyber war, information war, network-centric warfare, net war, and command and control warfare. In terms of activities of the internal enemy, official sources suggest the act of simply conveying information alone can be described as information operations. In this case, it is usually waged by people within oppressed populations. In terms of governmental military use of information operations, Department of Defense defines information operations as, quote, the integrated employment of the core capabilities of electronic warfare, computer network operations, psychological operations, military deception. So every time you see that honeypot in yoga pants, black yoga pants specifically, that's military deception. That's a no-no. That's a death trap. And operations security, in concert with specific supporting and related capabilities to influence, disrupt, corrupt, or usurp adversarial human and automated decision-making while protecting our own, end quote. The 1999, quote, Air and Space Power Journal, in an article called, quote, What is Information Warfare? States, information warfare is any action to deny, exploit, corrupt, or destroy the enemy's information and its functions, protecting ourselves against those actions and exploiting our own military information functions. This new war is fought for political purposes and revolves around the issue of gaining the support and influence of the population. Information warfare, according to U.S. military and defense contractors, the, quote, new enemy use computers, the internet, fax machines, cell phones, and public media to advance their objectives. They use, quote, information operations to influence state forces with the population. Various publications term the act of transmitting information, quote, net war, information operations, information warfare, information attacks, etc. Professor George J. Stein, in, quote, Information Warfare, which appeared in Air Power Journal, stated, the target of information warfare then is the human mind. So this is a war on consciousness. The battle remains the battle for the mind. What all of this means is that the new war is an information war. Information warfare, infrasonic and ultrasonic weapons, infrasonic and ultrasonic generators, also called emitters, and VLF, very low frequency modulators, are weaponized devices consisting of a directional antenna dish which can send acoustic pulses to a general or specific area. In 1972, France was using infrasonic generators which operated at 7 hertz on its civilian population. By 1973, the British was using the squawk box in Northern Ireland. This directional weapon could target specific individuals by producing an audible sound at about 16 hertz, which turned into infrasound at 2 hertz when it coupled with the ears. In early 1990s, Russia developed a 10 hertz very low frequency modulator adjustable up to lethal levels capable of targeting individuals over hundreds of meters, causing pain, nausea, and vomiting. As far back as 1997, the U.S. Department of Defense has been creating generators in the infrasound and ultrasound ranges between 7 to 35 hertz, respectively, which can cause the same effects. These weapons can target the brain, causing changes in the brain chemistry which influence thoughts and emotions. Particular frequencies and modulations will trigger precise chemical reactions in the brain, which produce specific emotions in the targeted individual. Infrasound occurs within ELF range, extremely low frequency range. from a few hertz up to about 20 hertz, which is the lowest limit of human hearing. From 1 to 250 hertz, the pain damage threshold seems to increase with frequency as well as power. Frequency determines what kind of damage occurs, whereas power determines how much damage occurs. Infrasound easily passes through buildings and travels great distances. Natural examples include avalanches, earthquakes, volcanoes, and waterfalls. Whales, elephants, hippopotamuses, and rhinoceroses use infrasound to communicate over great distances. For whales, hundreds of miles. An electric example would be a large subwoofer, or TV, or radio. Infrasound is thought to be superior to ultrasound because it retains its frequency when it hits the body. From about 100 to 140 decibels, infrasound causes a variety of biological symptoms. Effects include fatigue, pressure in the ears, visual blurring, drowsiness, imbalance, disorientation, vibration of internal organs, severe intestinal pain, nausea, and vomiting. Higher power levels can liquefy bowels and resonate internal organs to death. So this is a death ray. I've talked about this many times. I'm going to continue to do so. It can also cause feelings of pressure in the chest, choking, irregular breathing patterns, and respiratory incapacitation. High-powered, low-frequency sound from about 30 hertz to about 100 hertz just beyond infrasound causes fatigue, blurred vision, bowel spasms, pain or damage to the internal organs, feelings of fullness in the chest cavity, chest wall vibration, difficulty breathing, difficulty swallowing, choking, and respiratory impairment. Psychological effects include loss of concentration, disgust, apathy, sadness, depression, fear, anxiety, and panic attacks. Microwave hearing, aka, quote, synthetic telepathy, quote, voice of God, and V2K existing radar units can be modified to transmit a beam of pulsed microwave energy into a person's skull, which causes sounds like ticks, buzzes, hisses, knocks, chirps, and words. The sounds originate from within, above, or behind the head and are transmitted to the inner ear via bone conduction thermal expansion. Bone conduction is another pathway for sound transmission in humans and other mammals. There is no external noise. It can be applied from hundreds of meters away from a target using man-portable transmitters. Dr. Alan Frey invented the technology in 1958. The transmitters use pulse-modulated waves at extremely low average power levels. In 1975, Dr. Joseph Sharp proved that correct modulation of microwave energy can result in wireless and receiverless transmission of audible speech. Non-lethal weapons have also been called non-injurious disabling measures, immobilizers, strategic immobilizers, discriminate force, less than lethal, pre-lethal, mission kill, new age weapons, soft kill weapons, slow kill weapons, silent kill weapons, limited effects technology, neutralizing technology, reduced lethality weapons, low collateral damage weaponry, etc. The Department of Defense defines them as, quote, weapons that are explicitly designed and primarily employed so as to incapacitate personnel or material while minimizing fatalities, permanent injury to personnel, and undesired damage to property and the environment. Non-lethal weapons employ means other than gross physical destruction to prevent the target from functioning. They include biological and chemical warfare, directed energy weapons, communications warfare, information warfare, and psychological operations. Other types include computer attacks and weather modifications, so weather warfare. Non-lethal weapons are to be used in combination. The Council on Foreign Relations states these weapons must be deployed coherently in synergistic coordination with information psychological warfare technologies. Similarly, NATO in their 2004 and 2006 reports, quote, non-lethal weapons and future peace enforcement operations, and, quote, human effects of non-lethal technologies, indicates that non-lethal weapons should be used in combination to increase their effectiveness. The U.S. military states that the goal is to overwhelm the target by attacking all 5 senses plus motor and cognitive functions. Neuroimaging devices, remote neural monitoring, and remote neural manipulation. Non-lethal weapons have also been called non-injurious disabling measures, immobilizers, strategic immobilizers, discriminate force, less than lethal, pre-lethal, mission kill, new age weapons, soft kill weapons, slow kill weapons, silent kill weapons, limited effects technology, neutralizing technology, reduced lethality weapons, low collateral damage weaponry, etc. Peace operations. So the honeypot in yoga pants is a peace officer. And do not take peace operations for face value. It's actually the exact opposite. Any type of warfare is to disturb the peace, to make sure and ensure you have none of it or very little of it. That's why you will see, as I proceed on, usually when this word pops up, it is really, really small for some reason. And I think that's due to the malware on my device. That's what I'm assuming. That's my theory. And it is essentially small. It's smaller because you're not going to have very much peace in your life. All right, so peace operations, the new war. 4GW, fourth generation warfare, irregular warfare, etc., aka peacekeeping operations. So it's trying to set you men up to have you dumped by your girlfriend or wife. That's what it's attempting to do. To cause a domestic disturbance is to disturb the peace. Peacekeeping operations by the UN are international interagency missions to contain conflict, maintain peace, peace for them, not peace for us. It's peace for them, and form a legitimate government. Most are run by Department of Peacekeeping Operations of the UN, and U.S. Army lists them as a type of military operations other than warfare. Pol war, political warfare, a translation of the German term, which I cannot pronounce, please excuse me, worldview warfare, which means the scientific application of terror and propaganda as a way of securing ideological victory over an enemy. I am not German, by the way. I don't speak German. Sorry. Not sorry. PSYOP, psychological operations, a major part of the New World War and a core part of civilian military operations that is combined with electronic warfare and computer network operations. Peace operations involve synergistic coordination of PSYOP, psychological operations, military deception, operation security, and effects-based operations. Psychological operation units work with the civilian population as irregular forces to attack target audience in the area of operation. Psychological operations operators profile target audience and target individuals and devise themes to attack their TA's target audience, which include TI's targeted individuals. Ultimate goal of the psychological operation is to modify the behavior of the target audience by destroying their will using a relentless attack consisting of painful triggers. A type of audiovisual product known as PSYACT, psychological actions, includes agents of action who carry out plays in the presence of the TA, target audience. So these plays include honeypots and yoga pants, so you'll stop to check their ass out. They do not have your best interest in mind. You have to stop falling for this stupidity. You're grown now. It's time to grow up. Every single channel of communication the target audience uses for information is intercepted and interfered with. Psychological actions. Psychological actions, also known as front face camera, front-facing camera, F2C, are audiovisual products consisting of, quote, agents of action, undercover, who deliver messages to a target audience or individual. Agents of action follow a set of guidelines while, quote, play acting to deliver the messages. Psychological actions usually utilize multiple people to transmit messages. Themes are presented in a performance similar to a play or movie production, hence the term, quote, surveillance role player. Words like sets, props, performance, theater, actors, cast, script, audience, etc. are used. The military sometimes actually employs people from theater actor guilds and modeling agencies. But of course, it's acting. It's not a real model. In fact, it's appropriating real models. So it poses a major threat to my livelihood, big time. That's the whole entire purpose here. So I don't see what piece for who, you know? What? So obviously it's peace for them. It's a peace operation to make sure they're getting all of the attention and you get none, to make sure they're getting all of the peace and justice and the targeted individual gets none. The reason why you get none is because of this ongoing isolation, deprivation, and psyop. Psychological actions can occur during rallies, rumor campaigns, work, group meetings, lectures, theater, plays, speeches, dances, banquets, fiestas, festivals, religious activities, talks with individuals during interviews on talk, radio shows, and other social activities. So if you work for like the union, they'll put together a banquet just so they can put a honeypot in yoga pants, and this will be happening all day. And this is so that you can get addicted to watching porn. So they can control you that way, because sex opens up every single chakra and it opens up the mind. And once that is entirely activated, you will be much more susceptible to the mind control psyop. And drugs also help and cause conformity as well as fear. Messages may be subtly transmitted during these events. Agents of action follow general scripts. I hate to burst your bubble, but at the same exact time, I am so happy to let you know that your life, these women are not interested in you. Quite the contrary. Messages may be subtly transmitted during these events. Agents of action follow general scripts that can be modified as needed. This type of communication includes, quote, keywords or phrases spoken by the actors in the presence of the TA. This can include a tactic known as, quote, directed conversation, end quote. Psychological operations. U.S. military states that the ultimate goal of the peace operations is to modify the behavior. So you see right here, it has nothing to do with peace. Do you understand this? Let me say it again. Slower for those of you in the back and a little bit louder. Psychological operations. U.S. military states that the ultimate goal of the peace operation and the psychological operation is to modify the behavior of the target audience and the targeted individual by destroying their will to live. This is brought about by continually inflicting pain. This is accomplished by a relentless campaign used to demoralize the targeted individual that will create perpetual feelings of intense fear and hopelessness. The Department of Defense describes this as an, quote, attrition-based, bottom-up approach. Attrition, quote, attrition is the product or gradual erosion of the will, of the victim's will to live. The victim of this psychological attrition gradually becomes convinced that nothing he or she can do will yield a satisfactory outcome to any given situation. In peace operations, themes are used to transmit pain. Okay, pay attention again. Pay really close attention. Let me slow down here. This has nothing to do with peace. Nothing at all. It has everything to do with psychological pain. In peace operations, PO, themes are used to transmit painful stimuli, also called triggers, through all his and her or her channels of communication, which a target audience or targeted individual has already previously been sensitized to. Trigger themes are understood at the strategic, operational, and tactical levels of the campaign, and they are passed to various commanders of particular areas of operations if the target audience moves towards that portion of the battle space. Side note, the ground that I walk on is not a battle space. The bed that I sleep on, the vehicle that I drive, and anywhere else that I am is not a battle space. Okay? Thank you. The triggers, and if you think it is, you are so crazy. It's insane. The triggers are part of a behavior modification program called neuro-linguistic programming, which uses anchors and triggers to promote change via trauma-based mind control. This trauma-based mind control is causing premature dementia, premature Alzheimer's. People forget that they're married when they see a honeypot in yoga pants, and then they want to leave, start a fight and leave so they can go watch porn. This is a serious underlining deep-seated political issue. It is called trafficking, sexual exploitation, and rape culture, okay? Of course, sex is going to be always used to control people. It has since the beginning of time. An anchor is created when an emotional state is linked to something such as an object, person, sound, smell, place, color, etc. So the idea is to anchor you to that trauma, that highly charged traumatic event, and then use that to re-traumatize you every single day in order to stage a synthetic psychological collapse. Once the anchor is established, whatever the individual was exposed to during the anchoring process becomes the stimulus or trigger that will provoke the emotion or emotional reaction, which is forced. It's coercion, by the way. So basically, here you have the peace operations that is so small because either they're trying to say that I have a small ass, which is how it goes each and every day, and or it's implying that the peace in my life is going to be very little to none. So basically, peace operations is simply a series of stimulus response triggering interactions. So it has nothing to do with peace, okay? It has everything to do with psychological pain. Peace operations, also known as information operations, military deception, mil death, effects-based operations, neocortical warfare. This is Neo right here. This is where they get the name for Neo in the Matrix. Neocortical warfare, political warfare, Pol War, and psychological warfare, Psy War. Also known as command and control warfare. So that's why when they can force you to get a boner, you'll leave your wife, or vice versa, or you guys will start arguing because it forced you to get a boner. That's rape. Those honeypots in black yoga pants, that thirst trap that waits for you at every corner, at every checkout lane, it is a rapist. It's forcing you to get a boner. That's a rapist. That's a rape cult shill. Please stop. For the sake of the children, make it stop, Lord. They don't give a shit about children, by the way. They kill children all the time. They're sacrificial lambs. Okay? It's a battle space. The children become collateral damage. All right. So psychological warfare, also known as command and control warfare, are a major part of the new war and a core part of civilian military operations that is combined with electronic warfare and computer network operations. Peace operations are a planned process of conveying messages to a target audience to promote certain attitudes. You see this? Attitudes, emotions, and behavior, or misbehavior, I should say rather. These messages are typically conveyed using a line of persuasion known as a theme. Target audience can be a group or an individual. Peace operations involve synergistic coordination of PSYOP, military deception, operations security, and effects-based operations. And they are in
military operations other than
MOCW, civilian military operations, information warfare, unconventional warfare, and low-intensity conflict operations such as counterterrorism and peacekeeping. Which, by the way, it's promoting terrorism and domestic violence. It's promoting all of this, so it's inverted again. The Department of Defense and Council on Foreign Relations consider psychological operations a non-lethal weapon to be used on civilians. Psychological operation, PSYOP units work with the civilian population as irregular forces to attack target audience in the area of operation. PSYOP operators profile targeted audience and targeted individuals and devise themes to attack their targeted audience, which include targeted individuals. The ultimate goal of the PSYOP is to modify the behavior of the targeted audience by destroying their will using a relentless attack consisting of painful triggers. In gang-stalking, electronic harassment, psychological operation is synchronized with electronic warfare, with directed energy weapons, computer network operations, and all other instruments of national power. All of their power is siphoned from we the people, so it doesn't really have any. That's why you need to guard your attention like your life depends on it, because these are death traps. The battle space is your neighborhood. No, it is not. And the war is global. Early PSYOP research was done by a small private network of think tanks, foundations, and academic institutions, which went into partnership with government agencies and kept most of the results of their studies secret. They're secret because they're illegal, unethical practices, unconstitutional. Some of the institutions that conducted these studies were known to be subversive. Thus, much of the modern PSYOP was built by a small group of private interests using the social sciences to install a global government. Some of these are the exact same groups promoting the use of PSYOPs on civilians, which is illegal. Radio frequency weapons, rumor campaigns used by PSYOP units to isolate TIs, targeted individuals. Primary elements include the source, the rumor, and the receiver repeater. Similarly, the U.S. Marine Corps document, quote, multiple service concept for irregular warfare. 2006 states frightening the population into inactivity is sufficient to achieve our goals, end quote. Tactical PSYOP detachment team of about 13 personnel with a captain and staff sergeant. It is comprised of several tactical PSYOP teams and provides tactical PSYOP support to brigade and battalion-sized units in support of special forces. Tactical PSYOP team conducts mission assessment, determines distribution priorities, and tracks the various products that have been distributed throughout the area of operation. All teams maintain contact with each other, and the TPD is in constant communication with other forces such as the TPDD, TF, or TPT during the entire operation. TPT, Tactical PSYOP Team, small group including team leader, his assistant, and a PSYOP specialist. Computer network operations, also known as network ops or network operations, NetOps, are information warfare attacks used to deny, deceive, degrade, and disrupt networks and computers used by the enemy. The enemy would be we the people. These are used in conjunction with PSYOPs and electronic warfare. This includes destruction of hardware and software, degrading, attacking, and spoofing or deceiving. The battle space includes the internet. Internet applications that can convey PSYOP messages include email, websites, and chat rooms. That's why you all need to get rid of that phone. When a TI goes online, they are entering the battle space. Your kids have no business on a phone. When a TI goes online, they are entering the battle space. Web spoofing allows an attacker to create a copy of the World Wide Web. The Air Force mentioned that an enemy's internet could be spoofed to conceal one of its weather attacks. Quote, spoofing options create virtual weather in the enemy's sensory and information systems, making it more likely for them to make decisions producing results of our choosing rather than theirs. So, weather warfare, that's why you get Halle Berry as, what's her name? Storm in X-Men. There you go. Directed energy weapons used to damage or destroy people, equipment, and facilities include microwave, millimeter waves, laser, bright lights, holographic projections, and acoustic weapons, audible, infrasound, and ultrasound. These weapons are silent and traceless. They cause a variety of effects, including tiredness, dizziness, nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, convulsions, epileptic seizures, temporary paralysis, vibration of internal organ, cooking of organs, cataracts, burning sensation on the skin, hypothermia, heating of body, headaches, loss of short-term memory, interruption of cognitive process. So you're going to forget what it was that you were going to do or what you were thinking, and you won't have any fresh new ideas whatsoever. Cardiac arrest and or cancer. These weapons can easily pass through most unshielded structures. In their, quote, electronic warfare publication, Department of Defense defines directed energy weapon as, quote, directed energy is an umbrella term covering technologies that produce a beam of concentrated electromagnetic energy or atomic or subatomic particles. A directed energy weapon is a system using directed energy, literally, directed energy, just that, primarily as a direct means to damage or destroy adversary equipment, facilities, and personnel. Directed energy warfare is military action involving the use of directed energy weapons, devices, and countermeasures to either cause direct damage or destruction of adversary equipment, facilities, and personnel, or to determine, exploit, reduce, or prevent hostile use of the EMS through damage, destruction, and disruption. Directed energy weapon include microwaves, lasers, bright lights, holographic projections, and acoustics. The two basic types of directed energy weapons include microwaves and lasers. Wavelengths of lasers are about 10,000 times smaller than microwaves. Both are part of the electromagnetic spectrum. The two main types of microwave weapons are millimeter wave devices such as the active denial system and the electromagnetic bomb, E-bomb, which is the emission of a non-nuclear electromagnetic explosion or pulse. Directed energy weapons travel at the speed of light, are surgically accurate, can operate in all weather, are scalable, are silent, and invisible, offering plausible deniability. Their energy can pass through walls at distances of hundreds of meters to miles and have long distance projection, tens of miles. These weapons are mounted on platforms which can be a missile, aircraft, ship, vehicle, suitcase, radio, etc. So in any case, thanks so much for joining me on today's episode of It's a Conspiracy, but it ain't no theory. For the record, and to the best of my knowledge, I have been on the CIA's hit list for an electronic targeting homicide and Holocaust officially since October 31st, 2019, Halloween, after the tattoo shop I frequent was broken into and my son's name was tagged on the inside of the tattoo shop window. It is apparent to me that I am the victim of organized crime. After the death of Jerron's baby cousin, Jennifer Alfisa, who was 25 years old, on August 1st, 2021, approximately a week and a half after my cell phone alerted me that hackers were tracking me, I started this channel in fear for my life when I tried to file in court for domestic servitude and was denied access to the law library. My safety is jeopardized. None of this is for attention. I am not crazy, nor do I have a habit of telling lies. So far, I haven't made a single penny doing the Lord's work and speaking the gospel truth here on this program, delivering words of encouragement and true news, not fake news. Generally, I don't make any friends discussing deep-seated underlying political issues such as rape culture. Quite the contrary. I have lost my home, my family, my friends, my career as a model, my reputation, health, and I am forced to flee from this cult of deadly mobsters daily. I have been forced into impoverishment, and even though I am homeless, none of my family, my parents, have not asked me or called to see how I'm doing, not even once. Instead, they prefer to victim blame, to gaslight, and to argue. This is the reason for my crisis. My life should be so much different than it currently is. It should be the exact opposite. I should have been married, a married homeowner with foster children of my own by now, settled into a community and church. I am currently being oppressed as my constitutional rights are being violated daily, and I'm deprived of my right to life. So, if you wouldn't mind, if you appreciate the truth and the work I do here on my program, please like, share, comment, subscribe, tip, or donate today. Every penny helps me to regain my social support, reputation, and independence. I don't smoke or drink, so no money is wasted. Thank you. Social engineering is a crime against humanity. Exploitation of illusory explanations to conceal directed energy crimes. This is social engineering. Cut your shower short to conserve our water. I'm so proud of my conservative efforts. So the fact that I am cutting my shower short conserves energy, water resources. The fact that I walk and I don't drive, same exact situation. I'm doing more for the climate than these so-called environmentalists. Charlie Kirk was shot for expressing himself politically. These are cover stories to conceal directed energy crimes, which is electronic targeted killings, an electronic targeting holocaust. So anyways, those stories that the media sells, it's out for sensationalism. And so all of this conspiracy, organized hate crimes, it's all sensational. What do I always say about the truth? 3 main things about the truth. The truth never wavers. You never have to worry about remembering the truth because, like I said, it never wavers, it never changes. and the truth always prevails.